Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping into a seriously fascinating intersection that most financial advice completely ignores. We're going to look at the surprising hidden connection between Vedic astrology, emotional psychology, and something as seemingly dry as your tax compliance and record keeping. Because as it turns out, the way we handle our money actually has a lot less to do with math and a whole lot more to do with the unseen forces of our constantly changing moods. Right off the bat, I want you to reflect deeply on your own relationship with money for a second and ask yourself this exact question. Are your feelings shaping your financial discipline, or is your financial discipline steady regardless of your emotions? Be totally honest with yourself here. It's a pretty profound question, and your answer might just change the way you look at your bank account forever. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the hidden financial force. To really understand this dynamic, we've got to look at the second house in Vedic astrology. This house basically acts as the control center for your financial security. Your wealth, savings, accumulated resources, the whole shebang. But when the moon, which represents our constantly shifting moods and habits, occupies this house, a really stark contrast emerges. See, normally we view tax compliance and bookkeeping as this rigid, purely technical chore, right? You've got fixed records, tax returns, receipts, but behind every single one of those numbers is a human mind. The moon reminds us that human emotion is tidal. It's constantly ebbing and flowing. So a disciplined financial system doesn't just start with a killer spreadsheet, it actually begins with a disciplined emotional state. You literally can't maintain steady compliance if your actions depend entirely on whether you're feeling super confident or totally anxious on any given Tuesday. Moving on to Section 2, Emotions Behind the Numbers. This brilliantly illustrates how the specific symptoms of our emotions directly trigger different financial mistakes. Think about it. When we're scared, we default to excessive caution. When we're excited, boom, we're suddenly prone to unnecessary spending. And when stress hits, what do? We avoid the paperwork. We just put off filing those taxes because anxiety makes the whole task look like a giant, unclimbable mountain. And on the flip side, when we're feeling too comfortable, we easily slip right into complacency. Every single one of these emotional states is quietly but forcefully pulling the strings on your financial behavior behind the scenes. We really need to hammer this core truth home. Money management often begins inside the mind before it ever appears inside a bank account. So many of the financial mistakes we make actually begin emotionally, not technically. When you put off organizing your records or you totally avoid opening a bank statement after a rough month, it's not because you suddenly forgot how to read a piece of paper, right? It's an emotional reaction. You're reacting to feeling overwhelmed. Tax compliance is not separate from your psychology. It is deeply, inextricably linked to it. Which brings us to Section 3, flawed memory, flawless records. Here's the kicker. Because the moon also governs our memory, our mental accounting simply cannot be trusted. As the source notes, emotions reshape recollection over time. Important details fade, dates become uncertain, amounts become confused. Let the gravity of that sink in for a second. Human memory is incredibly frail. Because our feelings are always shifting, they literally warp the facts of our past financial commitments. We might remember a transaction based entirely on how stressed out we were that day, instead of the actual dollar amount we spent. And that builds a wildly compelling case for our most basic financial tools: receipts, invoices, bank statements, and accounting records. These aren't just annoying pieces of paper cluttering up your desk. They are essential, unchanging records. These concrete tools are absolutely crucial precisely because they survive our emotional roller coasters. They lock in the objective truth long after your temporary mood, whether it was total panic or pure euphoria, has completely faded away. They step in exactly where our memory fails us. Section 4, Family Roots of Wealth. Now, in Vedic astrology, that second house doesn't just rule your cash, it rules your family too. And if we map this out on a timeline, it makes total sense. In your first decade, your childhood experiences set your baseline. Did you grow up terrified of scarcity, or did you assume resources would just be endless? Then, moving into your second decade, those early experiences kind of bake into unconscious emotional patterns. You start attaching very specific feelings to saving, spending, and debt. By the time you hit your third decade and beyond, those deeply rooted patterns are totally dictating your present-day financial choices and tax habits. Unless you actively examine them, the moon is going to carry all that heavy emotional history right into your current financial reality. So I've got to ask you directly, what does financial security truly mean to you? Are you trying to find safety by frantically hoarding a growing bank balance, or do you chase comfort by blindly spending money just to avoid facing any financial uncertainty? Honestly, your answer to this usually reveals way more about your hidden emotional needs than it does about your actual financial circumstances. All right, Section 5, Mastering Emotional Wealth. In today's fast-paced world, it's super tempting to think we can just download an app to fix all of this. But do digital banking and instant apps really solve what is, at its core, a deeply human problem? Just look at this sequence, specifically step 3, where the software processes the data. Sure, digital payments and online banking create amazing convenience, but tech doesn't erase human emotion. Step 1 requires the actual emotional discipline to sit down and review the accounts. Step 2 needs you to enter accurate info. So the crucial point is this. No matter how lightning fast or smart our software is, human emotion is always the bottleneck at step 1. Your emotional discipline dictates whether the right data even gets entered in the first place. Now, a quick reality check. The goal here is absolutely not to become a totally unfeeling robot. Balance becomes way more valuable than suppression. Having the moon in this placement doesn't mean you should just try to kill your emotions altogether. We need our emotions. They give us intuition, compassion, and human connection. The problem only happens when a temporary feeling completely overrides a long-term financial responsibility. We want to acknowledge our feelings without letting them steer the entire ship. True financial discipline and tax compliance are built on a perfectly balanced foundation. It's like a giant puzzle with 4 equal pieces: emotional awareness, organized record keeping, honest reporting, and thoughtful decision making. Real financial discipline starts way before tax season ever arrives. It's built on these daily habits that reflect a deep respect for financial truth, recognizing your emotional triggers way before they cause any major compliance mistakes. Which leaves us with one final provocative thought to take away from our explainer today. Is your wealth supported merely by your earned income, or is it truly supported by the emotional stability behind every choice, every documented transaction, and every record you keep? Take some time to chew on that and reflect on your own hidden financial forces, because at the end of the day, the better you understand the moon inside your own mind, the better you're going to master the money inside your bank account.